Hi guys, welcome back. Today we're going to visit with a YouTuber named Nina Nam, and unfortunately, the name of her video is My Dad Died of a Heart Attack.
Talking about health and fitness, I've taken out gluten and sugar from my diet completely. It's not a diet or a temporary thing, it's a permanent thing. Basically, my dad had a heart attack because he had 80% blockage in his heart. Most people can survive that, but he did not for some reason. We don't know what the real reason is. Like, freaking, just don't end up in a hospital, you guys, please. Food is what killed my dad. Food, stress, basically. I think that's what it comes down to. That's what clogged his heart. Stress really does mess with your heart, so you can't underestimate that. But also food. So I ate like my dad did. Like, we'd go out and we'd treat ourselves. We would enjoy some good food and not think too much about it. We wouldn't restrict ourselves, but we weren't also like overly doing it. But we have a family history of heart problems. And according to this great cardiovascular surgeon that I met at the hospital, even if you had one family member that had a heart problem, your entire family is at risk of having a heart problem. So I know at least 4 relatives that are directly related to us that had heart problems. So that means even if we don't look like we're unhealthy, my dad certainly didn't look that unhealthy. He looked pretty good, and he could do badminton for like 4 to 7 hours, no problem, changing shirts, like changing out of 3 shirts, sweating them all out, drenched, and he had the endurance like most people couldn't even like keep up with at age 63. It didn't matter. He still had a heart attack. Like, I just want you guys to know how serious it is. Just don't go to the hospital, because once you're there, it's really, I don't want to be negative, but the hospital sucks, and I don't trust anyone there. Like, I love the nurses that helped us, but it's not like 24/7 hour care. Man, if I get banned from here, then fuck it. Like, I just want to be real. Why can't we be real on these things?
God, I can just feel her emotion. She feels about as real as it gets to me. If anyone watching this has lost somebody, or if your life has been touched due to somebody in your family having a heart attack or heart disease, my heart goes out to you. If you have the strength to share that situation with us down below, please do. My heart goes out to Nina. This is just so devastating. I'm so sorry that she's going through this, and it's like she's reliving it just in this time of telling us. So real tough deal.
Do whatever you can to never end up in the hospital. I'm just so angry at gluten. I'm so angry at sugar. I'm so angry at added flavor anything, because it is overstimulating our taste buds and making us want more of this CRAP that doesn't belong in our body, that's going to end up making our blood sticky and creating plaque and creating heart attacks and killing our loved ones that could have lived another 40 years. You know what I mean? I just pray that you guys do everything you can to avoid anything that doesn't really belong in our body. Just eat the things that God made. Treat your body. I wish there was an easy way to just view what our heart looks like, what our blood vessels currently look like, what our arteries look like, so that we have an accurate assessment of how bad our body looks or how good it looks,
God, that would be a wonderful invention if we just at the push of a button knew exactly what our heart was going through, right? And how all of the pipes looked, and to make sure that they were clear and running efficiently, right? I think that would be a wonderful invention. Something that we could have maybe in the form of an app on our phones, right? That would be something. If you guys are contemplating starting a diet and exercise routine, remember, none of us are guaranteed tomorrow. Don't start Monday, because Monday never comes when it comes to starting a diet and exercise routine. But there's so much power in starting it now. Sooner is better than later.
This was like a real scary awakening for me, and I'm never going to forget it. I was there when they were doing CPR on my dad. I was there when he transcended up to heaven. And I thought I was going to be traumatized seeing all that because it's pretty intense. But more than traumatized, I was just trying to be strong for him. And I told him, Dad, I love you. You know I love you. Yumi loves you. Sophia loves you. Kevin loves you. We all love you. And I made sure that he heard that before he passed away, before he went up to heaven. And I know he heard me. I saw him look at me. But I'm never going to forget how this could have been prevented. Although most people aren't going to want to hear it or want to do it because it's like too late. Like, this world is so full of bad food, like things that kill us. And I wonder how many people die because of this freaking food system that we have, that we created. I just pray that you guys stay healthy and do everything you can. Like, don't just treat it as a diet to just look cute. Like, this is real. This is about your life. This is about the people that love you. And my dad even said, I wonder how many people would cry when I die. I wasn't the one that heard this, but that's such a horrible thing to even ask, right? And I'm not talking disrespectful of my dad, but dude, a lot of people will cry when you die. More than you think.
Guys, I want you to take a look real quick. Nina made 144 videos before her dad passed away. She only made 3 after. So if you wonder about if people are going to cry when you pass away, it's just like Nina says, a lot of people are going to cry if and when you pass away. So I'm hoping that today is finally the first day that you go get your shoes. Let's go for a walk. Nina, I think we can all agree that your father left this earth far too early. But I think your dad would agree with me that perhaps you left your YouTube channel far too soon. I hope and pray that one day you make a comeback. Whether you do or not, I think your dad would be so proud of you. Cheers to eternal life, Nina. And to everyone out here with me on a walk, welcome to Walk Talk Vet. Good morning, Venters. I hope you're having a beautiful day. You want to know something interesting? There are animals out there, specifically dogs, that'll travel endless, countless miles to be reunited with their owners. And I have a beautiful walking, reunited story between a dog and its owner that I thought you might enjoy. And this one doesn't come from the United States or anywhere close. It actually happened in India. So there's a gentleman out there named Kamalesh Kumbar. He went on a pilgrimage to a place called Pandipur, India, with his dog Maharaj. This already sounds like a romantic story, doesn't it? Now, Pandipur, India is about 150 miles away from Kamalesh Kumbar's home. He takes this dog with him on this pilgrimage, and the dog got lost, supposedly last seen with some other party. So here Kamalesh is in one party, he thinks his dog's with him. All of a sudden he looks around, realizes his dog's no longer with him. He kind of does a brief search in the area, finds out his dog left with some other party. Heartbroken, Kamalesh returns home to Karnatam, 150 miles away, once again without his beloved dog, Maharaj. Apparently, the following day, a little bit heartbroken, he goes out to his front door, and who is he greeted by? But nonetheless, his dog appears at home the next day, apparently looking well-fed and completely healthy. Some way, somehow, this dog traveled back home 150 miles away, and he arrives the next day after his owner looking well fed and completely healthy. And the villagers consider this a miracle, and they've been celebrating Maharaj's return as a pure testament of the love and bond between a dog and its owner. There used to be a movie that we all watched as kids. I think it was called Homeward Bound, and it was the story of two dogs and a cat that did a similar travel like that, but it was a movie. I don't know if it was ever based on a true story, but if you saw that movie, Homeward Bound, where the two dogs and the cat somehow make it, back to the home, let me know down in the comments, because I saw that movie, but I feel like I saw that movie, 40 years ago or something. So very, very long time ago, but it's still a very popular, well-known movie for young kids to watch with their parents and stuff. But what do you guys make of that? Isn't it great to know that dogs have the ability to follow a scent trail and find their way home based on memory? And 150 miles, God, that really does seem miraculous. And considering he made it the following day, it makes you wonder, did he find a way to get strangers to actually drive him to certain areas to get closer to home? How the heck did he make it home so quickly? The only thing I could think of is that the whole time returning home, he was a couple miles behind his owner. But how the heck did the owner get home? Did he drive home? Did he fly home? Did he walk the 150 miles? I'm not exactly sure, but I'll definitely make sure I link the story from our friends at the Good News Network down below, and then that way you can kind of check out that story. So I hope you guys are having a good morning. Thank goodness dogs aren't lazy and they're willing to travel endless miles to be with their owners. Every now and then you have a situation where a pet gets lost or a pet runs away from home. And man, when you see the look in kids' eyes when their pet's no longer around, it can be really, really disheartening for families. So if you've ever lost your pet and been reunited with them, maybe you could share your story down below. Hey, good morning. So we have already made it through our first week of August, and I'm totally excited about that because like I said, it gets me 1 week closer to fall-like weather. I feel like August should be a part of the fall rather than the summer, but here in Arizona, it's just as hot as July, maybe give or take a degree or two. But again, I'll take that degree or two. If you guys are starting to get to the point where the weather is starting to cool down where you live, let me know, because that sends good vibes out, and I want to grab a hold of those good vibes. So I think I've told you guys this a couple of times, that this lady here really loves sweeping her front sidewalk and the street. And what's interesting is her sidewalk and street looks perfectly clean, yet she's still out here sweeping. If it makes you feel good, it makes you feel good. So, good morning. There she goes. I've talked about this before. Some of us, like myself, I used to always wake up when I was working, away from home. I would always wake up and I like to iron my shirts. It was a great way to kind of start my day, kind of get in a Zen mood. Because back then when I worked away from the office, I didn't necessarily wake up in the morning and go on a walk. What I would usually do is I would come home, and sometime in the evening, I would take a walk, right? Or if I had the day off, or if it was a weekend, I would still walk, in the morning or what have you. But a lot of times I would walk when I got home from work. But in the morning, I would actually iron a shirt, or maybe make my bed, or do a number of things that just kind of got me into my morning routine. If you're one of these people, like my neighbor back there, that absolutely loves sweeping, there's something about it that just, it's a comfort thing. Maybe her and her family members had a tradition where they would always wake up in the morning and sweep the front sidewalk. I don't know. But what causes a person to sweep a sidewalk that's already clean? Is it some sort of OCD tick? I suppose it could be, but I don't really get that vibe with her. I get the vibe that she just really enjoys it, and it probably does have some sort of soothing effect on her. Which leads me to my next question for you guys. Do any of you guys have that same sort of soothing type effect that you guys get from some sort of hobby that you guys have? Some people love to do Sudoku puzzles. Some people love to fill in crossword puzzles. Some people like to go on walks like me. Some people love to clean their home. Do you have a routine or a hobby that you do that has the tendency to make you feel really relaxed and chill? If so, let us know down below. And if you never really had that, but you notice that now that you've been walking, that the walk kind of is that for you, again, please share with us. I'm a firm believer that one of these days, if it hasn't happened already, we're going to have somebody new watching the show, like Angela Menard has the past month or so. And Angela probably started reading a lot of our little comments and stuff. And a lot of times that makes it just really enjoyable for people to actually contemplate going on their first walk. Now, I'm not saying that Angela decided to go on her first walk because of us, but Angela, if you're watching and you did decide to take a walk because, you were reading our comments or something, you decided to join us, maybe you could share that. It was interesting. The first day that I took a walk when I was in my 20s, it was because my doctor told me I had really high cholesterol, and I just knew even back then that I didn't want to have a life of taking statins or any type of medicine. And so when he gave me the opportunity to try to take care of this on my own, I absolutely jumped at it, I should say. And it's one of those things where about 2 or 3 weeks into my walks, I just noticed it had a real zen quality to my life. Because, when you're a newlywed or in the first couple years of your marriage, especially when you're in your 20s, it's nothing to constantly have up and downs in your relationship. Maybe you and your partner are arguing a lot. Maybe you have a lot of stresses when it comes to bills and stuff, And when you can go ahead and dive into your think tank every day like I was able to do with this new walking routine, even though it felt like I was forced into it, it took me back to my schoolhood days. I never realized how much I loved walking until it was kind of something that I felt like my health needed. So all of a sudden, I'm in my 20s, I'm walking, and about 2 or 3 weeks in, I just realized this isn't really a workout at all. It's almost like a cheat code to get healthy, because not only was I getting healthier and losing weight and lowering my cholesterol with, the use of oatmeal and Honey Nut Cheerios and stuff, right? But all of a sudden, I realized I loved it. And here we are, decades later, and I'm still walking regularly. Now, when I was married that first day, or not married that first day, but when I started my walking journey that first day, I noticed that I would walk 4 or 5 days, take a day off. I would take the occasional weekend off, right? And then somewhere 3, 4 months down the road, I just got to the point where I very rarely took a day off. So even though right now you might be walking 2 or 3 days a week, guys, that's a heck of a lot better than nothing. But if there's ever a time in the future where you decide I need to take it up a notch, it's going to be absolutely no big deal at all for you to go from walking 3 or 4 days a week to walking 7. Look, here's the thing. If you were going to the gym, you have to actively get your car keys out, get in your car, drive to the gym. As crazy as it sounds, that's difficult for some people to do all the time, right? But when it comes to your walking, you don't need to grab your keys. All you need to do is grab your shoes like you normally do anyway,
and get going. And there's absolutely no reason why you can't have today be the first day of the rest of your life and start walking. God, I wish I could force America to take a 3-week walk, because you know what would happen at the end of the 3 weeks? Millions upon millions of people would not stop. I believe that firmly. And if there's any venters out there that when they first started walking, they were a little iffy on the idea, and then all of a sudden, now they're a permanent walker, let me know what happened. Were there any magical words that I said that actually got you to take a walk? Or did you always knew that you wanted to take a walk, and maybe our show kind of pushed you over the edge into doing so? Let me know. At what point did your walking routine kind of solidify in your life? And if you're still not there, even though we've been walking for 150 days together, you can let me know that as well. Maybe I'm crazy, maybe I'm nuts, maybe I enjoy my walk, and maybe that makes me that 1%er. Maybe 99% of people are not like me. Maybe they don't really enjoy the walk so much, but man, when you do and you're in the shade and you feel the breeze on you, you just appreciate stuff more. I mean, I never thought that I would sit there and enjoy the shade and the breeze as much as I do. But man, when you live in Arizona and it's got we have 100 days in a row every single year for my whole life. We usually have 100 days in a row where it's 100 degrees or more in Arizona, like clockwork. So you get to the point where when you're outside, you enjoy a patch of shade. You enjoy the breeze. You learn to count your blessings. You learn to see good things in things that you wouldn't normally see anything in, you know? I look at these birds of paradise. I don't even know if you guys have these trees in your state, but I love these things. I've been growing up with these beautiful birds of paradise. They look like the peacocks of trees, right? I have friends' homes that have been here forever. This house right here, this was my buddy Mark Gabbard's house. He was the first person to have Pebble Tech in the neighborhood. I'll never forget that. We go to his backyard and he has this really nice swimming pool, and he had this Pebble Tech. Now keep in mind, this was 40 years ago. And all of it because his parents were successful and his dad just really loved being ahead of the curve when it came to getting new things. When they talk about keeping up with the Joneses, my buddy Mark's, his dad and mom were basically the Joneses that you wanted to keep up with. They always had 2 or 3 cars. They always had really neat TVs and Nintendos, but they weren't TVs and Nintendos that you could purchase in America. His dad would go to Japan and get this stuff a year or 2 earlier than everybody in the country. So I'm one of the few kids that, even though my mom was the type that would buy me an Atari instead of a Nintendo, I'm one of the few kids that actually played a Nintendo a year before it even came out in the United States. Now, I don't know about you, but that's pretty cool. So even though I don't consider myself a gamer by any means, in a real weird situation, because of my buddy Mark, I was able to know about Nintendo a whole year before anybody else in the country. And even though I didn't see it as a big deal back then, I do now. Could you imagine if you got to play the latest video game system a whole year before anybody else in the country? Wow. I don't know if that's an accomplishment or what, but what a neat thing. So let's go a little bit over what I did the last day or two. Whenever I tell you that we want to step up our game going into into the last month of the challenge, I sometimes forget that there's a lot of people that are watching that might not have any interest in a challenge. You might not look at your life from a standpoint of, hey, I have 90 days to get things in shape. your life is a lifetime. Some people want to watch and they want to start a walking routine, but they're not necessarily concerned about cutting sugar out of their life or about drinking a ton of water, right? And if that describes you, I still want you to enjoy the show and I still want you to walk with us. I think you're doing something wonderful. But again, I guess the point I'm making is you don't have to look at your life as some number on the scale that you're trying to hit. If you just want to start a walking routine because you love the idea of starting something that you can do consistently for your health, and oh, by the way, if it helps your mental aspect of your life even better, then hey, I can't blame you for that. Just enjoy your walk. If you walk every day and you eat what you want to eat constantly, once again, you're probably going to be able to maintain your weight pretty good. If you decide down the line that, hey, I want to go full bore and drink nothing but water and I want to eliminate most of the sugars in my life, then you're going to have a really good chance to lose some weight in addition to maintaining your health, you know? So again, if you're watching, you don't have to be a full-blown venter where you're walking and drinking water and avoiding sugar. If your game plan was just to start a walking routine, that's good enough for me. On the other side of things, if you're somebody that just, you're fine with your weight, you feel completely healthy, but you just like watching the show and you have no intention of ever walking or drinking water or what have you, hey, I'm okay with that as well. We all have different challenges in life. I would love for you guys to walk with us and do the whole routine and the whole 9 yards, right? But sometimes that's just not in the cards. So again, love the fact that you guys are watching, love the fact that you guys are so loyal, and if you haven't ever walked with me, just keep it in the back of your head. Don't ever totally poo-poo it. If you're waiting for the weather to get a little bit cool, just because I tell you it's better to start now because tomorrow never comes, that doesn't mean that it won't come for you. If you've resolved that you're waiting till the new year to start your walk, my plan is to be right here then as well. So again, I don't want you guys to ever let me scare you away. You can always return to the walk. Sherry Ann, you've been writing me lately stating, hey, I'm watching the show. I've had these different issues, these different challenges. Sherry Ann, everybody has these challenges, so there's no need to make any reasonings up for me. I understand that what you're going through, and I know that you're trying. That's the one thing is sometimes people don't realize how much we try despite not necessarily succeeding, right? Sometimes we try too hard and we set off our body's systems and our body thinks that we're getting ready to battle. Sherry Ann brought up the idea the other day in a comment that maybe because I'm working out more than an hour each day, maybe I'm holding cortisol. Maybe because I'm doing these diets where I'm trying to restrict my calories, maybe my body's under the impression that I'm starving and it's trying to hoard fat, We all have these little challenges. I think when you go on a walk, instead of it telling your body that you're about to prepare for war, I think it's honestly a way that you can relieve stress. So where normally if you work out 7 or 8 days a week at the gym, you might have a high cortisol level, right? Because your body's thinking you're ready to fight somebody. But when you're walking, I don't think your body gets that same cue. Because even though walking takes you a month and a half, 2 months before you start losing weight, once you start losing weight, it kind of keeps going, right? Now, don't get me wrong, if you're drinking and eating soda and candy religiously, it is going to be a little bit more challenging to lose the weight, no matter how much you walk. But at the same time, if you're eating the same amount of junk food that you always have, and all of a sudden you're walking and trying to drink a little bit of water and trying to avoid the occasional cookie here and there, you're probably still going to have some real positive effects. I'm a little tired this morning. Sometimes when I'm tired, the ideas don't pop into my head about what to talk about. But, the reality is sometimes it's best to get out your door when you are tired. Sometimes I'm too tired to argue with myself, right? If you're totally awake, it's easy to tell yourself, I don't want to go on the walk. But if you make it part of your routine and stumble out of your house in the morning half asleep, whatever you got to do to get yourself motivated, do it. You know? It's very important if you're new that you try to walk for at least 2 or 3 weeks each and every day in a row. That way you can really make it part of your morning routine. See, I think that's the problem I have with walking 3 or 4 days a week. Which 3 or 4 days a week are you going to walk? If you walk at the beginning of the week and then take the rest of the week off, are you going to do that the following week as well? Or are you going to walk at the beginning of the week this week, and then next week you're going to walk at the end of the week? Because if so, all of a sudden you're walking 3 or 4 days a week, but you're taking 6 or 7 days off in between. That's just a recipe for quitting. So again, I know it sounds crazy to say, hey, we're going to walk every day for the rest of our life, but keep in mind, because you walk every day, you can take a day off whenever you want or whenever you need. Because you drink water every day, you can drink a soda or a sweet tea or a coffee with sugar in it whenever you'd like. The problem when we eat sugar whenever we like is sometimes we end up continuously eating sugar. So that's where you have to be able to jump into your think tank and say, you know what? Every time I walk, I don't think about food, I don't think about sugar, but whenever I go home and I start eating a cookie or something sweet, I end up wanting to eat sweets for the next 3 or 4 days in a row. So what do we do, Jesse? What do we do in that scenario? Well, Bob, think about it. You learn from yourself. Every day is an experiment. If you know in your heart that every single day that you eat a cookie, it's going to make you crave sweets for the next 3 or 4 days, well, then try your darndest not to have that cookie. Get it out of your system, because I can tell you one thing. When you get to the 3rd or 4th or 5th day without sugar, stuff does get easier. So stay positive. Yes, the sugar monster seems impossible to fight sometimes, but it's truly not. It just takes 3, 4, 5 days in a row without sugar, and all of a sudden it becomes a little bit easier. And one of those things that we can do if we have a hard time is just keep walking. It'll eventually get a little easier. Just always tell yourself, I don't necessarily need to go in and have that bowl of Captain Crunch. I don't necessarily have to go in and finish off that last piece of cake. How many people eat that last piece of cake because something in their head tells them, I don't want that food to go to waste? A lot of us have been brainwashed since we were little kids to finish our plate. We weren't allowed to have dessert until we finished our plate. So now, when we have that last piece of cake, instead of throwing it away, we feel obligated to eat it. If this is you, you're just like me, and that's some weird thing that we have in our head. We should have never been told to clean our plates. We should have been told to eat until we're full, and that's what kids naturally do. And we try to push that out of their system by forcing them to finish their food. And why do we do that? Well, because we spent good, hard-earned money on that food. But that's kind of, again, where we have to change our thinking. Anyway, look, I was babbling for the last half hour, and we're already done. Look how quick and easy it is to get our exercise out for the day. If you still have another half hour before you have to leave, contemplate doing some extra credit and taking a little bit of an extra walk. And have a beautiful day. I'll see you tomorrow.